it shows you who you are. It shows you what what's important to you and what you want for the future as well. And it's very much like COVID, because you can't mix with people, and you've got to keep away, and communicating through social media and whatever. And you've already got through that a better person, so you already know how resilient you are. So it's not, just remain positive, I would say. Well, it started July 23. I had a bout of impetigo on my chin. Do you know what that is? Like a cold sore sort of thing. Children normally get it. So I called my doctor, who I'd never seen, because I've moved down from London sort of 3.5 years ago, registered with the doctor, but never seen him because I was fit and healthy. So if I get the cream on it straight away, it doesn't spread so much. So I'd had it before a few times. So I rang the doctor and said, can you prescribe this cream? That's all I need. And he said, I'm happy to do it over the phone. Why have you got that? It's usually stress related. Are you stressed? And I wasn't stressed. I mean, my dad had just died, which is a bit weird. And I was moving house and building an extension. But those were more sort of excited, stressful things. But anyway, he said, you're over 50. Let's just get your bloods done. So I had my bloods taken that day. Then he called up a couple of days later and said, look, they're out of kilter. We want to do them again. So we did them again. And then 2 weeks later, or within 2 weeks, I think it was, a different doctor said, can you come in? I want to examine you. And I was flabbergasted, because I couldn't have been fitter. I'd just done a fitness thing in the November before. I was running 3 times a week. I was doing yoga. I was eating healthily, and only having a couple of shandies at the weekend. I just couldn't understand what was going on. Anyway, he examined me, my tummy, and I was like, what are you looking for? And he said, an enlarged spleen. I said, and is it? He said, yes. I said, what does the spleen do? I don't know. He said, when your liver's working too hard, the spleen sort of takes over and it's enlarged. So I wanted to send you to Bournemouth Hospital for further blood tests to see what's going on. He said, I'm going to fast track it because we want to rule out a couple of things. And I'm flabbergasted, and I said, like what? And he said, blood cancer and leukemia. And I thought it was a joke. Anyway, so I went to the Bournemouth hematologist, and she told me I had blood cancer. She was talking very slowly and very lovely, and talking about all these health things, and then just sort of said, I'm sorry, but you've got blood cancer. And I couldn't take it in. And then she's mentioned leukemia, she's mentioned CMML, which is the one that I've got, chronic myelomonocytic leukemia. There wasn't even a booklet for that one. She said all this information. She said you can be on the not watch and wait list. It's a wait and monitor sort of list if you're all right with it. Or the other extreme is a stem cell transplant, which you can have up to the age of 70. So if you had loads of symptoms and stuff, that's sort of worst case scenario. She said, and if we need to do a bone marrow biopsy to see what sort of level you're at. But it was sort of leaning towards, you haven't got any symptoms, you're young. It's normally for people that are 75 to 79 kind of thing. So she said, you seem fit and healthy otherwise. Let's see what the biopsy brings. So the biopsy was in September, a bone marrow biopsy in your hip. I thought it was in your back, but it's in you line of sight, it's on your hip. which is, it's unpleasant, but it's whatever. So then the results didn't come all together, first of all. So the first results were looking really, really good, as if I was on this wait and monitor list. But then, annoyingly, the second lot of results were the genetics. So 2 of my genes had mutated. I got these results in November. Still absolutely, feeling fine and whatever. So the November results, 2 of the genes have mutated, and they said if I don't have a stem, if I leave it, I've got it's either 1 in 5 chance of getting AML, acute leukemia, which is horrendous, within 4. It's either 1 in 4 chance of getting it in 5 years, or 1 in 5 chance of getting it in 4 years. I can't remember which way around it was now. And if you've got that, it can be terrible. You get really ill, and the life expectancy was actually 37 months, which was something I was not expecting to hear, because I was completely fit and healthy as far as I was concerned. Probably the fittest I've ever been since I was a child. You know what I mean? It was such a shock. I just couldn't sort of take it in. So that was November, and then December, I had 2 meetings in Southampton Hospital with a specialist consultant. One to tell you the procedure, for an hour and a half. It's quite a lot of information, and then you come back again. Actually, come back in January to get the risks, which the list goes on and on and on. They've got to tell you everything, and because of the nature of it, there are so many different, varied risks that can go. You just want him to stop talking, really. So it was a very unusual bit of information to receive, because I just couldn't. I was just in shock for ages, for like a good couple of months, because it was quite tricky information. But that's what happened sort of first of all. So I needed this stem cell transplant, so that because my cells were just completely full of cancer, and I needed someone else's to take over all of them, and if there was any sort of residual cancer, then they would start to destroy it as well. So they said, I said, when do I need to have it? And they said, oh, not straight away, within a year. And I thought, I'm a single parent of a 10-year-old. She's too little to go through that. So it was hard information to receive. But that's what happened at the beginning, really. Mine's called chronic myelomonocytic leukemia. It's rare. Normally 75, 79-year-olds get it. So because I was sort of fit otherwise, it absolutely done me a favour. They caught it super early because I didn't really have any symptoms, nothing to, write home about. And basically, it's your bone marrow makes blood cells, as you know. The red ones make the oxygen, the white ones fight infection, the platelets clot the blood. So my one is too many monocytes, which are the white blood cells that fight infection. So they're abnormal, and there's loads of them. So there's no room whatsoever for any healthy cells to grow. So it just sort of takes over. So I was really lucky to catch it then, because it could have made me, ill. But there's stages. It's not like a tumour, because a tumour is like stage 4 when it's gone to other parts of your body. But mine's all over the body anyway, because it's the blood. So they measure it sort of. It's called CMML 1 or CMML 2. To be honest, I'm not even sure which one I had, because I've forgotten that bit. But like CMML 1 is like 5% of the abnormal cells, and then CMML 2 is 5 to 20%. I thought I had CMML 1, but I seem to remember I was having chemo tablets, because if it went up to 50%, they were starting to. Anyway, I can't remember. So it's CMML 1 or CMML 2 sort of stages. And CMML is part of MPN, but but I can't pronounce that, so I'm not even going to try. Or MDS, so they thought it could possibly be MDS, but it's not. It's a rarer one, CMML. Well, I panicked first of all because I remember it from when I was a child. You know, the lady on TV about Anthony Nolan trying to find a donor for her 4-year-old. I was thinking, oh no, there's not going to be a donor, you know. But then the doctor soon put that at ease. I didn't even think about my brother because siblings are the best match. My amazing brother obviously offered, but he just had a stent put in, so he wasn't allowed. But there's a register, and it's worldwide now because of this mum back in the 70s or whatever it was. So there's millions of people on it, and they found sort of 3 matches pretty much straight away. But first of all, I was absolutely panicking about that. And also it's easier now for the donor. Everyone used to think it was a lumbar puncture, you know, horrendous. But now it's just for the donor, it's injections. I don't know where the injections go, but they have whatever amount of injections, and then they just take the blood out of one arm, goes through a machine, and keeps some stem cells, and then they put it back in the other arm. So it's for the donor, it's nothing. So there's loads and loads on this register, which is fantastic. But yeah, the treatments. I went into hospital 3 times. First of all, because I had so much cancer, they had to do debulking chemo at Bournemouth Hospital to get rid of loads of it because it was just too much in my bloodstream. So I had to stay in there for 5 weeks. So I had 10 days of chemo, 3 different various ones, and you're in a you're in a room with windows don't open, and you can't have any visitors. You could have visitors there actually, but I reduced mine a lot because I wanted to be in hospital the shortest amount of time because I'm a single parent. Do you know what I mean? It was you know, it was a bit of a nightmare like that. Plus, you know, the visitors would bring a risk to me and the others. So I was in there for 5 weeks having the debulking chemo, and to be honest, it wasn't that bad. I've sort of sailed through it. I mean, I did have an allergic reaction to penicillin, so my mouth filled up as if it filled up with chilies, but that was only a few seconds. And then I did have what's it called, paniculitis, which is that my legs swelled up and they had like big massive bruises on them. It's inflammation of the fat is what it is, and that was, you know, there were swollen legs, but it wasn't painful. You know, paracetamol would take the edge off it, so it wasn't that bad. But those are the only sort of side effects I had, apart from, actually, I did think about it, I did have a reaction to platelets. They had to get specialized platelets for me because I kept having a little allergic reaction to them. They tailor the platelets to your body so it doesn't happen again. So that was, you know, but that was all right, actually. It was a bit of a brain holiday because, you know, you haven't got to make any decisions. How fantastic is that? So I was like sorting my photos, watching Netflix and Audible books and stuff like that. So it's actually a much needed head break for the first bit, and then it got a bit annoying, obviously, not seeing my daughter and stuff. That chemo, and then I went in June to Southampton Hospital because I was having a not related donor. It's better to have it there. Plus, they're the #1 in Europe apparently for doing stem cells. So a specialist nurse told me, so I was very happy with that information as well. But so I went to Southampton, where you really can't have any visitors, and that was for my donor #1. That was a Canadian donor. So I had the 10 days of chemo, the strong chemo, but I developed antibodies against that first donor. So the doctor came in and said, "Oh, I've got some terrible news." And I thought, "Oh my God, I've got cancer somewhere else now or whatever." But it wasn't. It was just that my body had developed these antibodies. So she said, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to go home. And we've got to contact donor #2." And I was thinking, oh no, it's going to go on for months and months and months. And it didn't, because they'd already got in touch with donor #2 in the first initial when they rounded those three up in the beginning. So donor number 2 was West German. So I was back in hospital 6 weeks later to do it all again. And so it was a West German donor. So the 10 days of chemo again, I was in for 5 weeks again, exactly. And, you know, I didn't suffer. It was amazing. Lots of people get severe diarrhea or severe sickness or so ill from the chemo. And it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is not pleasant being in one room for 5 weeks with no, you know, 3 visitors. But my daughter wasn't allowed to visit, which was really hard. Thank God for social media, so we could talk, FaceTime and everything. But it wasn't that bad. I didn't get any reactions because they knew I was allergic to penicillin. I mean, you are on a drip all the time and it's really a bit of a pain, but I used to say, can I be on the drip overnight so that I would be free in the day? But, you know, I took some art in there. I did yoga as pretty much every day if I could, but it was absolutely knackering doing, you know, a little bit of yoga. You're so bendy when you start, and then at the end you can just barely do a beginner's work. You do 10 minutes, and then that would wipe you out for 3 hours. You'd be unconscious for 3 hours. I mean, just going to the loo, the toilet is right there in a separate room, obviously, but you'd go to the loo and then you'd have to have a lie down for an hour and a half. But I wasn't in pain, and I wasn't, you know, I was really lucky, really, really lucky. They give you this, the last chemo they give you is the strongest one. It begins with M, I can't remember which one it is. But they give you a feeding tube, because this chemo gives you mucositis, which is like cold sore in your mouth. Really, it takes the lining of your mouth away, or it's sore, it hurts to swallow, it can go down your esophagus. Sounds horrendous. Everybody gets it, and I didn't get it. So I had the feeding tube. They fed me on it one night to test it, and then they never had to do it again, which was brilliant. So after a few days of having it in and me not getting this mucositis, then they took it out, which was great. So I didn't even suffer with that, and you know that's quite rare. So we've been told. When I first went to Bournemouth, 2/3 of my hair started to fall out at the end of that time, but really evenly all over. So by the time I'd left the hospital and got home, because I had massive hair, really big sort of curly hair. You know, if I put it in a ponytail, people wouldn't even notice that I was going bald. So it was a complete result. But this, when I was in to have the Canadian, sorry, not Canadian, the West German donor, that's when it all started to fall out. And I'd made peace with it anyway. I just thought, well, it's just hair, isn't it? Small price to pay for life. I'd also read in a little book to do with cancer patients. Some person had said, I'm seeing the hair going as the cancer leaving. And I thought, I like that. I'm going to hold on to that. So that was quite good. But yeah, all my hair fell out on the day my daughter started senior school. So it was such bad timing. So I had to ring her up. And I was like, how's your day? You know, all the rest of it. She's staying around her friend's house and her mum's looking after her and that family's looking after her. And she's like, yeah, you know, telling me all her day, everything. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry, but my hair is really falling out. You know, do you want me? I'm going to have to shave it off because it's everywhere. You know, shall I wait? And this was Wednesday. I said, on Saturday, do you want to watch me shave it all off? We'll do it together so we can sit. She was like, no, leave it in. She said, I want to see it all with wispy bits on top. I was like, no, you don't understand. It's absolutely everywhere. Every time you get up, it's on the pillow, it's on the floor. It's just absolutely gross. So I've got to shave it off. Anyway, so I shaved it off the next day, which is quite liberating. I'd heard people would say it was liberating, but it actually is because you choose it. You know, I thought I might some people get away with it not losing their hair, but it's inevitable. So you just got to accept it and embrace it and just wear a wig or wear a hat. I got a wig, but I wasn't keen on the wigs. So I just wear a hat, or, you know, I'm only wearing a hat now because it's cold. Here's my normal. It's got my back quite a lot. It's very fluffy because I've just washed it. But normally I've got big hair out, you know, like yours. I'll put my hat on now because it's a bit chilly in here. But yeah, so yeah, that then the hair went, and that's part of the treatment. That's the chemo, and everybody knows that anyway. But you just got to face it. So yeah, that was my 3 visits. So the last time I went in was August. So August the 12th, I went in. August the 22nd, I had stem cell transplant, and now I'm in recovery, thankfully. So yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because you hear, I'm ridiculously positive anyway, because, you know, what is the alternative? It's just no point not being. But it's hard when you have heard that 20% of people don't make it. But then you have to tell yourself, but normally the people who get this CMML, they're normally 75, 79. And normally they're ill anyway. They might have had symptoms, and that's how they found out about theirs. But it's so rare. There's not a lot of data anyway. So, you know, it's all guesswork. So the doctor couldn't sort of give me a cure rate or whatever. But because I'd heard that 20% don't make it, you get intrusive thoughts. So, and it's really hard to bat them away when you're asleep at night and you're trying to nod off with this big cloud looming, and you just think, oh my God, what if my daughter's too young? I'm a single parent. I don't want her to end up with the dad. Do you know what I mean? You know, would my brother and his wife take her? You know, who would go with her? Who would she go with? And all these horrible things. And it's, you know, it's really hard. Also, the recovery, when you read all the information about the recovery, people can't walk, people can't see, people can't, and you're like, oh my God, you start reading this list and you think, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be me. I'm not, you know, if it happens, we'll deal with it then. But there's no point, because I have to tell you everything. You don't have to believe everything's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? I don't believe, so I didn't. I chose not to. I chose to accept any help that was given, because for cancer there is so much help out there. It's absolutely ridiculous. That I got a spreadsheet when I first, for Dorset Council, I got a spreadsheet of help, and that was quite overwhelming as well, because you're trying to take everything in and you're like, oh no, I've got to do all this. You know, people start ringing you. Social worker rang me, Macmillan rang me, and there's so much help. You don't have to do it alone. Even if you had the crappiest family in the world, you haven't got to do it alone. So every time it wasn't really every time I went to the doctors, because she'd already told me I got to have a stem cell transplant. And then once I sort of heard what the procedure isn't that, it's not like having a massive heart operation or leg off or something like that. It's just a bag of blood. That's, you know, you have the chemo, and you might feel ill with it, but then it's just a bag of blood, the actual stem cells. So it's not invasive, you know. Is that the right word? I have to check my words because I've got chemo brain sometimes. That is a side effect. But yeah, you know, there's help filling in forms and getting your blue badge and stuff like that. Mine were more the practical worries than the medical, because you have to wait and see what side effects you get, and see what happens, and just pray that because you're fit and healthy, you felt fit and healthy, you didn't know you had blood cancer, because you've been running, because you've been eating well, because you don't drink much, it's got to help. That's got to be on your side, and it was. Counselling was really good, so I definitely advise anyone just say yes to the counselling and stuff. But yeah, Maggie's centre as well. They've got one in Southampton. They've got one in Oxford. They've got one in, I think it was Glasgow, the original one. There's got a few around the country. That's like Macmillan, but a different version. but they have been absolutely fantastic. Any kind of advice for any kind of cancer, and financial advice and as well. There was lots of assistance there. I've got amazing family and friends. My brother's fantastic, my sister-in-law's fantastic, and I've got really incredible friends. Sharing it, you have to share it bit by bit though, because it's really overwhelming in the beginning. Sharing it and being practical, like because I'm going to go in hospital, my daughter will have to go and live with someone, but she's going to start seniors, so she doesn't, it's a tricky time and blah blah blah. So we decided to keep her in the house with the cat, so she goes to school as normal, and then all my sister-in-law came down, my brother came down, my cousin came down, and my friends, they all did a timetable and took it in turns, so that my daughter had the stability she needed to cope with it, and then they all took turns. So one of my other friends organised the timetable for me, didn't put me on the WhatsApp groups to discuss anything, so I didn't get stressed, and it's like a military operation. But that if people ask for, offer help, take it, absolutely take it. That's my, that's what I did, and I found that really, really hard, because I hate asking for help, absolutely hate. I saw I've always got compassion and pity mixed up, but people are very, very compassionate. So just, when they offer to help, say yes, because you do it for them. That's, and when I sort of look back, I mean, I'm still in recovery. I've only just started the recovery. I got out on the 16th of September, I think. So I'm still in the recovery now. The recovery takes sort of 9 months to a year before you go back to work, which seems absolutely nuts. But then now I'm in it, I'm absolutely knackered. But when I sort of look back, I'm extremely proud of, I was sort of marching through it, but wading through it, it felt like sometimes. But I was just trying to make the best of it for my daughter. Do you know what I mean? And me. Using humour helped quite a lot. We're quite a matter of fact in our family, and we like to use humour a lot. And my daughter did as well, because when I shaved my hair off, I said, "Do you want to see it?" She said, "No, I don't want to see it. Wait till you get home." She said, "Have you done your eyebrows as well?" I said, "No. Why would I do my eyebrows until they fell out?" Because your eyebrows and your eyelashes can fall out, but mine never did, which was great. Because that can make you look illo if you haven't got eyebrows, and especially you've got bushy ones like me. She said, "Oh, can you shave your eyebrows off as well?" I was like, "No," because I'd promised her when I got home she could put gems all over my bald head. So she said, "I want to do your eyebrows as well." I said, "Well, I'm not shaving them off. You can just, put them on top or something." So she put them on top when I got home. But humour definitely helped, and taking action. Because the second you've got to go in hospital for a long time, there's a lot to do. The second, you've got to be practical. I had to make a will. I had to get your guardians in place. You have to get your finances. You can't work. You can't work for 9 months to a year. That is not what you want to hear when what you're going to do. Do you know when you haven't got any savings, or if you've only got a little bit of savings or whatever? But there's loads of help out there. You can, there's the PIP, disability allowance, universal credit. I didn't even know I could get a bit of that. But my daughter was a young carer, so if you get in touch with the young carers, they send her on little day trips and stuff, so she doesn't miss out on fun. The school, they give what's it called, free school dinners when you're not working, and uniform grant, a bus to school. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of, but you've got to be on it. You've got to do it straight away, so that you're not worrying about all this crap when you're trying to be in hospital getting better. So I was just, I was just really practical. Well, I'm still in recovery, as I said, and the hopefully I'll be back to work soon. They've just signed me off for another 3 months, because you feel fine, but you're just fatigued. And doing anything, it just makes you fatigued. So I'm trying to do yoga every other day, because every day at the minute is just too much. But it's just too tiring, because you're still immunosuppressed. Because I'm on chemo to suppress the new cells, because otherwise my body is rejecting them. So they're sort of having a bit of a fight at the minute. But I'm nearly off the chemo, so the new cells will be integrated properly, I suppose is the right. I don't know how to say it. So I can't mix with people, but as soon as I am off that chemo, my immune system will start to grow. After a whole year after the stem cell transplant, I'll have all of my childhood jabs, which is bizarre, seems bizarre, but my body, they keep telling me, the nurses, it's like a newborn body, newborn baby, because I got told off for having spicy curry. So I was craving a spicy curry, and they said, no, you're like a newborn. You can't give a newborn a spicy curry, can you? So once I've sort of recovered, I'm going to go back to work, obviously, and then I'm going to start some craft workshops. I've got a little studio in my garden that we've built. So we're going to do them there, or maybe in local cafes or whatever, and just doing like ceramics, lino cutting and printing, do life drawing classes, just to bring the community together, and bring a bit of joy. And it's going to have like kids, adults, and young carers, because they miss out on a lot of fun. Do you know what I mean? I mean, my daughter, she is a young carer, but she, I'm all right. I can do stuff, but other young carers. So I thought I'd just, to give something back, I'll give places to some young carers. But yeah, I'm going to do that as a little in the evenings and weekends as well, because I think that'll be good. Yeah, and I want to meet the donor, because the donor, she sent me, on the day that I found out 99% of my cells were from the new donor and only 1% were mine. Because when you first have, when you have the strong chemo, because you're over 40, you can't have the strongest chemo because it's too dangerous. So you have the chemo to wipe out as much bad stuff as possible, but you've still got a little bit of your original ones. So the idea is that the new stem cells destroy any residual CMML or new CMML or whatever. But all of my stem cells, they said 99% of my stem cells were the new donor. And the same day I got a letter and a lucky pig from my donor in West Germany saying, to my genetic twin, I hope my stem cells, now our stem cells are making you fit and healthy. Here's a lucky pig. I've got its twin in my house. Every time I look at it, I send you some best wishes or something like that. And it was so lovely. I just thought, how wonderful. So it's possible, if she wants to meet, hopefully she will want to, that we'll meet in the future, so that I can give her a big cuddle. That, it's not a death sentence. Technology, medicine and technology, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. As soon as I had this diagnosis, people started talking about it to friends, and they knew someone from 25 years ago that was still going strong. And that was then, when they were doing the technology for the medicine then. So I was thinking, oh, it's definitely better now. So I've got a much better chance. You know what I mean? It's things like that. It's not a death sentence. And it, sounds a bit ridiculous, but it is a gift if you let it, because, it's going to make me emotional now. It shows you everyone who truly loves you. And that's, it's truly powerful and wonderful. My amazing family and friends, it's absolutely incredible. They're supportive, they've been so supportive, and with their love, their time, and their words can make a massive difference. Loads of times I've had, a few words from my brother or my sister-in-law, my really close friends, and they just lift you. You'll be feeling really, like you're going to slip a little bit,
Mm.
um, but they'll just lift you, and that I'm crying through happiness because of their love, really, because it's really, really nice. You can see it when I first went in hospital as it's a bit of time off from the hamster wheel. That was golden. You get time to assess, you know, life, and I've got loads of extra time to spend with my daughter. And you can smell the roses. I live by the sea, so I can drive. I can't walk very far, but I can drive. So I can get in my car, drive to the sea, and look at the sea, and that's absolutely incredible. Um, it shows you who you are. It shows you what's important to you and what you want for the future as well. And it's very much like COVID, because you can't mix with people, and you've got to keep away, and communicating through social media and whatever. And you've already got through that, a better person. So you know you already know how resilient you are. So it's not, just remain positive, I would say.